Okay, so this video is going to be on the H.U.A.C, or the House Un-American Activities Committee. This video is labeled Red Scare and H.U.A.C. The Red Scare, when you hear about the Red Scare, you should assume they're referring to the 1920s. But it's not just really limited to there. It's definitely an ongoing thing. And so the House Un-American Activities Committee was an investigative committee of the United States House of Representatives. It was originally created in 1938 in order to uncover citizens with Nazi ties inside the United States, and it expanded its efforts, also investigating possible Communist Party infiltration. So the most popular dude you're going to see is this guy, Joseph McCarthy. The committee's anti-communist investigations are often compared to those of Joseph McCarthy, who was a U.S. Senator, had no direct involvement to the House committee. Okay, and so you're going to see he's kind of a political, he uses the fear of communism to benefit himself politically. So, and that happens a lot. For example, Kelsey Graham, I want to say, is the, one second really quick. Anyways, there was, I can't remember his name right now, but a U.S. Politician that ran for the Republican nomination strictly on the basis of he would stop ISIS. Okay, so it's just trying to benefit from fear politically. Here we go.
Attention, attention. This is an official civil events warning. This is not a test. The United States is under nuclear attack. Take cover immediately in the area of option. Repeat. The United States is under nuclear attack.
America's Cold War years were filled with fear. Daily radio and newspaper reports blared frightening stories of advancing communism, imminent nuclear war, and Soviet spies. America responded with an all-out offensive against communist infiltration.
The growing menace of communism arouses the House of Representatives Un-American Activities Committee. Among the well-informed witnesses testifying is J. Edgar Hoover, head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Mr. Hoover speaks with authority on the subject.
Communism in reality is not a political party. It is a way of life, an evil and malignant way of life. It reveals a condition akin to disease that spreads like an epidemic. And like an epidemic, a quarantine is necessary to keep it from infecting this nation.
While Hoover's FBI worked behind the scenes, Congress expanded its own high-profile investigations, often ignoring the civil rights of the accused.
Are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party? I believe I have the right to be confronted with any evidence which supports this question. I should like to see what you have. Oh, well, you would, yes.
Beginning in 1940,
That guy, Donald Trump, they just showed right here, excuse me, was a Hollywood director, and he there's a movie about him named Trumbo with that guy from Breaking Bad. Moving on. Sorry.
the House Un-American Activities Committee, or H.U.A.C, investigated communist influence in Hollywood. The committee was concerned with the power of movies to persuade audiences with subversive messages. With movie stars and other industry professionals called to testify, the hearings became red carpet events. For the anti-communist witch hunt, it was a publicity bonanza.
It is completely against the un-American feeling, this communistic thing. I believe I would move to the state of Texas if it ever came here, because I think the Texans would kill them on sight.
We have sold them some films. A good many years ago. They bought the Three Little Pigs and used it to Russia.
If I had my way about it, they'd all be sent back to Russia or some other unpleasant place.
What does that sound like? Does that sound like we hear that stuff today? But
Mr. Royce cooperated with the committee. However, a small group who became known as the Hollywood 10 refused to answer questions, citing protection under the First Amendment. Among them, screenwriter John Howard Lawson.
Question is, have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
I'm framing my answer in the only way in which any American citizen can frame his
Then you
answer.
denied, then you,
Absolutely invade.
then you denied, you refused to answer that question. Is that correct?
I have told you that I will
All right.
offer my beliefs, my affiliations, and everything else to the American public, and they will know where I stand, as they do from what I have written.
Stand away
I
from
have
the
written
stand.
for Americanism for many years, and I
Stand away from the stand.
for the Bill of Rights.
Therefore, it is the unanimous opinion of this subcommittee, John Howard Lawson is in contempt of Congress.
The Hollywood 10 were convicted of contempt and sent to prison. Thousands of others were blacklisted by the studios, forcing many talented movie makers into exile and obscurity. Among the friendly witnesses who testified in 1947 was a movie actor named Ronald Reagan. No one could have suspected that 4 decades later, Reagan would play a leading role in bringing the Cold War to an end.
If communists have attempted to inject their propaganda into the motion picture, they have failed miserably.
Perhaps Hollywood wasn't influenced by communists, but it was affected by the hearings. Movie studios added to the hysteria by cranking out such anti-communist films as Is This Tomorrow?, Red Planet Mars, and dozens of others. But tawdry films did little to distract President Truman from what he saw as a perversion of American democracy.
I'm going to tell you how we're not going to fight communism. We're not going to transform our fine FBI into a Gestapo secret police. We're not going to try to control what our people read and say and think. We're not going to turn the United States into a right-wing totalitarian country in order to deal with a left-wing totalitarian threat. In short, we're not going to end democracy. We're going to keep the Bill of Rights on the books.
I don't know if this doesn't look like this. Okay, I don't think this video is going to cover it, but when those Hollywood actors were, accused of being communists, they were blacklisted, which meant that they couldn't get jobs. And it wasn't just actors; it was screenwriters and directors and things like that, which directly were, they get paid on the amount of movies they do. It's not like a salary job where you get paid whether you're doing a movie or not. And so by getting blacklisted, it could hurt your chances of getting a loan, and it would just be very bad. It would ruin people's lives being labeled a communist back at that time.
Against the president's objections, Congress passed more dubious legislation, including the Internal Security Bill of 1950, which empowered the government to take action against anyone it deemed a security risk. Truman called it the greatest danger to freedom of speech, press, and assembly since the Alien and Sedition Laws of 1798.
Okay, so let's continue with this look at the H.U.A.C. and the Red Scare of the 1950s, or during the height of the Cold War, with a more specific look at Senator Joseph McCarthy.
Now, this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This, my good friends, is an American issue.
Okay, so when the Soviets detonated their first atomic weapon in 1949, it's years ahead of where we thought they would when they would achieve that technology, and it's because American spies such as H.U.A.C. and the Rosenbergs, which we'll talk about in another video, were giving them secrets. Okay, and like I said earlier, sometimes politicians take advantage of situations of fear to progress their own political agendas, and that's what he does. He's working about his campaign, and it works. He gets reelected. Like I said earlier, if you got it ruined people's careers because if you got labeled a communist, you were blacklisted, which meant let's say you were like I said, a screenwriter, or maybe you were a cameraman and you were a known communist. They wouldn't hire you for jobs that they were doing. So it definitely ruined people's lives. No mommies. All right, and so I don't know what that is. Anyway, so that's the Red Scare and the H.U.A.C, the House Un-American Activities Committee, and also Senator Joseph McCarthy, who led that effort. Okay.